Hello, welcome to Spy Money. We're doing an interview today with Trip. He's in our Discord and he's been posting $10,000 a day on average profits using the Angular and so forth. And a lot of people have asked about how he's trading it, how he's using it, how is he able to get those profits and so forth. So, Trip, tell us a little bit about you.
Hey, good morning, Brad.
Good morning.
So I've been in the futures game for a really, really long time. Been trading futures and stocks and options and all other good stuff since the early, I'd say the early '90s. Um, Trade a little bit of everything, but real passionate about futures and have found approaches over the years that have not worked at all, and then have found approaches recently that have worked incredibly for me. So I'm real excited and happy to be on the call with you.
How long have you been trading futures?
I've been trading futures. I bet you my first futures trade was probably in 1992.
Wow.
I used to trade the big contract, which was, so if you think about the E-mini, which wasn't around back then, the big contract would be 20 E-minis today. Um,
Wow.
and it used to be funny because I used to sit in my office and I had a timer, that kind of timer that you use at a swim meet on my desk, and you'd call into the pit in Chicago and place an order for a single contract. And if you didn't get your fill back within 20 to 30 seconds, you'd cancel the order. None of it was, there were no computers, there was nothing.
Wow.
Um, you would just call and hopefully be able to do something. But 9 times out of 10, you know, it was a different world. Um, so
So as far as the way you do it now with the computers and so forth, it's night and day difference from where you started out.
and the advantages to the retail trader these days are absolutely incredible. And these micros and the minis, they're fantastic.
That was
So,
great.
and all you need is a computer or a laptop, and hell, you can do it. You can do it on vacation in Hawaii if that's what you want to do.
That is great. So how did you find me? Where did you come from?
I was struggling with stock management and had gotten myself in a couple of trades that really just were backwards. And in the end, what I ended up doing, I was looking around and saw something on YouTube about spy money, and I watched a couple videos and I thought, wow, this guy knows what the heck he's doing when it comes to stops and whatnot. And so I reached out to you, and you were gracious enough. I think Brad, we must have spent 2.5 hours on the phone.
Yeah, we did. It was a long time. I won't say how much, you can say how much, but I remember how much you lost that day before you called me and you said you had enough. And
Yeah, it was a big number. Let's just say that. Um, it was a five-figure number. So and that was relatively, it was rare. I'd have a great streak and then run into 2-3 weeks worth of work getting wiped out. But I have recovered that and much more.
yeah, I think that's great. So on as far as coming in, you found me on YouTube. We had a nice long talk. You started off using the Spybot, and the Spybot was, matter of fact, I don't think you really even used it. I think you were mainly just learning how to mainly trade and so forth and do all that. And um, I know right now you don't currently use Spybot. I don't think you ever really did. And you started getting the indicators, figuring out that you can go in longer on your trades and so forth, and developed a strategy that's actually working for you. What strategy was you using before you came here?
I was using um, simple moving averages and some retracements. That was my primary strategy. Was really kind of doing my best to read price action within the framework of NQ,
Hmm.
and would have some really good days, and then just not managing stops as well as I should, which was really the biggest problem that I had.
Yeah, yeah. I remember you were talking about you had a large enough account that you could just keep averaging down and eventually come out of it and then sometimes get burnt. And I remember that being our conversation. So
Yeah,
as far as
and
the,
and that's always been my biggest mistake
yeah,
is to be able to lean back on a large enough account and and average down. And every time I've gotten in trouble, it's because I've averaged down.
right. You just got to get out. When
Yep.
it goes against you, you just got to take that small loss and make up for it on the next one. And you've really learned a lot off of that. I mean, you've done exceptionally well. A lot of people come to me and their daily goal is 500 or $1,000 a day, and you came to me and said my daily goal is 10,000 a day, and usually that don't happen. Very few times does anybody ever say that. So it was a a challenge to me to help you get to that point, and you've done so. So, what strategy have you found that works for you? Show us what you do here.
Well, what I've worked with, and it's funny because I'm looking at my screen right now, and one of my favorite indicators isn't on the screen because I cleaned up my computer, and unfortunately, I must have deleted the indicator. Um, what I have been using recently, uh, and it's just been a game changer, is I've been using a combination of indicators with the lead indicator being angular. That's really been what I've been, doing more than anything.
Hmm.
The indicators that I rely on most of all, and the one that I actually find to be the most value to me is actually the reversal indicator, which is not on the screen right now. I need to reinstall that. But so what I usually am doing is I'm looking for significant price moves based on where price has gone and what's happening more than anything on the left of the price chart, as opposed to what's on the
The current
right in front
bars.
of you. Yeah, yeah. A lot of folks are sitting. They just look at the price bar that they're in,
Yeah.
and that's not a good context.
No,
Um,
you got to know where the previous candles have been, so you know your
yep.
levels.
Yeah. So I'm looking primarily most success I have. I like to trade with the trend, and I like to trade pullbacks and breakouts. And all of these indicators will give me a great visual of what I can look at, and where I can take a low risk trade. Um, and it's been a big game changer in being able to really kind of, the most important thing you can do in futures trading, without a doubt, is you've got to be confident in your process,
Yes.
and you've got to master one or two trades. And if you can master one trade, whether it's a pullback, whether it's a breakout, whatever it may be, you can master that one trade. That's all you need. You don't need any more.
Right.
You don't need to flip flop through time frame and this and that and all the different settings. Doesn't matter. Price action is the only thing you need to know.
Yes. Yes, that's 100% true. Now, price action on your chart right now, you have two other indicators on. One is spy money balance, which is these lines right here. That's your balance, and then you have your take profit levels right here, and it goes on up. So if you go up, you'll see that your next one's up here.
Yep.
So that actually works off price action. No one knows what it is but me, but that works off price action in the sense of finding these levels. And when you open at the balance is actually there at 8:30 Eastern time, and then your take profit levels come in at 9:30 in the morning for your open of the U.S. Open. You also have the zones indicator, which is this right here and the green down here, and those work off price action because they're looking for levels of past. So when you're trading, I assume you're looking to trade to these levels to know where you are. When you mention the past, these tell you past, and then against your current, which is right here. So is that how you're using those, or?
I will use those primarily because price action is like glue to these levels.
Yes.
And if you look, to the around the 942, 944 area, and you get that close below the SPY money balance for the day, very likely, if you haven't already taken that trade, that it's highly likely that you're going to be able to go back down to that target TP1,
Yeah.
which is exactly where price went a little deeper than that.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to get all of the move, just get some of it. And if you missed it, you can see in the angular signal there, at about 944, around there, 944, 945. If you missed it, you can go back and still take that trade at a lower risk or similar risk with price when it goes in between those two movers. So those are
Right.
the other two indicators that are there, as I have two movers at different settings.
So the
You can,
the angular was actually right here. As
yep,
far as that was the first signal, and then it still pulled back a little bit right into your mover, and then the second signal was right here. So if you miss this one, you've got this one here. This one you wouldn't have got stopped out on based on the way
right.
we trade, because we usually trade back one candle, one bar for your stop. So you would have stayed in this trade. This one right here, you would have had. Where's your? I need to get you a drawing tool to put on there. If you would have got in right here and stayed in it just to the TP1, that's 63 points, which would be $1,260 right there.
Yep.
So that move in itself, and like you said, you don't have to have this whole move, and maybe you don't even get down to here. I usually put it just before because sometimes it'll come down, get right before it, and then bounce off. And so a lot of times I won't even trade it right to that level. I'll trade it right before. But honestly, this one right here, just this one trade, if you're, how many contracts do you normally trade?
I'll trade between 5 and 10.
Okay, so let's just say five trades, $1,200. That's a lot of money just in itself. This one trade would almost hit your goal at five. If you did 10, it overshot your goal.
Right.
So you're not trading all day. You're just trading, you know, you're looking for that one good move at the open and get your money in and then enjoy the rest of the day.
And that's the key, you know, be bold, be brief, and be gone.
Yes,
um,
yes, especially in futures because it can
yeah,
it can
that's it.
reverse real quick.
Yeah,
So
and you've got to keep your profits.
show me, like when do you like to start trading?
So I normally have not traded the open that frequently, but with Angular, I know between 930 and 933, there's a 50 handle move in there, and I have gotten those every day since I've started using Angular. So I will trade, you know, today I did trade one single contract for 25 handles.
That's good.
Um, very, very quickly, and it just moves so quickly. So, but today, normally what I would do if I were trading this right now, um, the beauty of the price action and these indicators is you also have the opportunity to do one of two things. One is if you've missed a move, for example, if you miss this move here with this angular signal and you're looking to get in, most people want to get in right around here, and it's too late. You're chasing it then because you got to look left and see where the levels are. It could stop right here and be done.
Yeah,
Um, what I would do then is I would either add a contract or two here when it pulls back up right in between these two movers, and then use that as my stop for those contracts, and then just run the stop all the way down, you know, that level as price keeps going down. So for example, right here, I would have my stop right up here and just keep trailing that stop down. And sometimes the price moves so quickly because these are range bars. This could be, in this instance, you're looking at 5 or 6 minutes
yeah,
and price is already gone. It looks like price went from the original signal. The other thing I will do, Brad, is I will normally place an order. So if you look at this signal here, I will normally place an order not at the market, but I'll place
a sell to ask order somewhere in between this level, knowing I'll get a little bit better fill.
Mm-hmm.
And that also gives me more of a stop if I want to stop. So I'd be comfortable in this trade, frankly. I have no problem putting my stop, right up in this level.
Gotcha.
But in this instance, what's really made the difference for my trading has been I traditionally have been scalping. What's made a difference for my trading is I'm not scalping that much anymore. I'm confident enough in these signals and these indicators that I'll hold for the whole move and get my 50 handles on 5 or 10 contracts and be done.
I'm going to interrupt you
Um,
right there for a second. See how the balance, see all these wicks that
yep,
went right up into it? And look,
it's a magnet.
it's a, if price opens below the balance at the U.S. Open, that is a signal that it's going to be probably bearish that day. It's not always true, but for the most part, it's going to be a bearish day, short bias. And then right now, when this shot up, it'll sometimes go over, and this is a fake out. And then right here's the move, and then it'll go right back to the balance, and then it will pull right back down into it. So that's how
Yep,
that balance will work. So utilizing the balance with your angular, it's really kind of giving you confirmation of what's going on. You're knowing if it's short bias, long bias, or whichever, and then that's going to allow you to be able to go in here. Um, from talking to you in the past, I think what you don't like, if you're going to trade 10 contracts today, you wouldn't go 10 contracts right here, would you?
no, I'd probably go 5.
Gotcha. So you're doing five, and then where would you add your second five?
I would probably add my second 5 right here.
Gotcha. So when it pushed up into it,
Yep,
would you do it at that top, or would you do it
I'd do
after
it
that bar closes?
no, I'd do it dead in the middle of those. I'd place a standing order dead in the middle of those two movers.
So when this bar pushes up and it's, say it's up here, do you immediately put it down here?
I'll put an order that the price has to pass through. So it's going to be dead in the middle and say, hey, you know what? Because if it keeps going, I don't want it anymore.
Right.
But if it goes lower, I'll add to the position.
So, but you're doing it on that bar though, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So when it pushes up, you're creating an order and then positioning it in the middle of those two movers.
Yeah, and I'll have an order already standing. Just like I mean, that's one of the most valuable things I learned from you was leave your orders floating and just grab them and move them down.
Gotcha.
So I'll have an order that's sitting out there with, let's say it's another 5 contracts or whatever it may be. So, if I was trading normally, what I'd do is I'd either probably start trade 5 or 10 contracts. If I trade 10 contracts and get to 60 or 70% of my daily goal, I will then only trade 5 contracts.
Gotcha. Because you're not not wanting to risk the profits you already have, and you're just trying to pick up a little extra.
Right. And then, that's one of the most valuable lessons a trader can learn is just have compound returns on a day-to-day basis because especially, I mean, today's Friday. I've had a great week this week. I'm not going into Friday and blowing myself up and ruining my
Right.
whole weekend. That doesn't make any sense.
So,
Um,
so on this one, you would be looking to be about right here.
yep.
And would you be playing to this TP, or
I'd probably take my average and I'd probably play pretty close to that TP, um, knowing that those the other indicators at the bottom, uh, what are these things called anymore? I forgot.
the
I
zones?
forgot. Yeah, the zones, the money zones.
Yeah. Now these
Knowing that
zones
those
would not be here at that point. They didn't appear until actually
till
about right
after.
here. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
about 5 bars back.
but I would probably look at that zone and say, hey, you know what? Be happy. I would take the original 5 contracts off and leave the other 5 on.
So at this point, you would take 5 off and then
I'd take
allow
5
five
off.
more.
Yep.
So you
And
would enter.
I probably would have gotten stopped out right here anyway, Brad, on the
So
on the extra 5
now, why would your stop been there? Because you're chasing that mover with your stop.
because I'm chasing that mover, and if I get a close above that mover, then I'm out.
Gotcha. So with this one, where you have that there,
Yep.
that's your sign just to go ahead and get out. So
Right.
in this case, really, you probably would have still been, um, 53 handles at 5, and then 66 at 5 is about what you would have been.
Correct.
So you'd
About the
been,
same. So call it 111, 110 handles divided by 2, so maybe 55, 60 handles.
so if we go ahead and
On
come
a
down
10.
here, just so people can see the money, and
So I learn something every time I talk to you.
you want it to always be currency.
Yeah.
So you go in here, once you set that to currency, you just go to template, save, save default, it'll always be there. So now when you come up here and there's an indicator I'll give you, I give it to everybody. But it puts the drawing tools over here on the side. So now when you do this, it'll be the currency every
Okay.
time. And now the negative, if you start from the top and come down, it makes it a negative. But if you start from the bottom and go up, it's a positive. So it doesn't really matter when you're doing this, but if you have to have the positive sign on there. So you're looking, there's about $5,000 on this one, and you're going to be about 6,500
It
there. So there's your
yeah,
daily goal.
it was $12,000 for that move.
Yeah,
Is the way it would worked out on 10 contracts.
yeah,
And then I would have signed off.
yeah. You hit your
I'd be
goal,
like,
you're
done.
done.
Yeah, shut off, be done with it. And then I'd go back later and I'd look at the price movement and said, oh, wow, there's a good trade, there's a good trade, there's a good trade. But you can see on what happened after that big downturn. You went down and you did not make a lower low on that next move down. So your next trade in Angular right here is a pretty good high confidence trade that you're at least going to go here.
Right. Because you made
So
a higher low.
yeah, and that's a 15 handle move. I'll take that all day
Yeah.
long. But what I really love is now I made another higher one, and now my target is way up here.
Right.
And that's exactly where it went. I mean, its first target would be the balance, and then way up here. And if you look at a longer term chart, I always look at in addition to the range charts, I look at the 5 minute, and I look at the 15 minute,
Mm-hmm.
and I always have those in front of me. And I look at those, and as soon as I get a breakout into those charts, and I look left, you definitely will see, hey, there's a high likelihood price is going to go there. I mean, right now it's very likely price is going to go up to 125 without a problem.
If we pull
Um,
that up, you can see that
yep,
the zone is right there.
yep, and it's
And
just
when you
sitting
go
there.
back, you can see where it's coming from. We've got this
Right.
zone first, and then we've got this one.
Yep, and that's a big zone, and it stopped a few days ago or however long ago up there, and it's likely to stop again, or at least pause. But if it breaks through that zone, it's going to keep going higher.
Now, one thing about this is the angular. You not only have this histogram down here, but you also have the bars of where they turn colors to whatever it is. So you can see the red down here. You can see the bars are now red. You can also, if you wanted, instead of having just one background color, you can make it to where it's red all the way across, which for
Right.
me, I like the way you have it set up. I think it's less obtrusive. But if you look at this over here, you can see that the angular kept scalping all the way up through here. When you mentioned over here you had a higher low. Well, the same thing with over here. You're having higher lows from here, so you're better off not to take these little shorts because more than likely you're just going to be taking longs all the way up. When it gets up to a certain point and you're up here to this balance and you go ahead and pull down, the balance to me is why you would take that short. And then as far as over here, when this goes up, I would not be taking this long. And the
No.
reason I wouldn't is because you don't have a trend set yet. You're better off to wait for that second one. And when this come down, me personally, I would have entered the short here. And and I would have got stopped out, so it would have been a bad trade, but I would have because the trend was coming down. But when this came down and it didn't make that lower low like you mentioned, then I would be, getting stopped out, and then that's when I would be looking to take this long. And at that point, the angular never showed a short here; it showed another long. So this would have been, if you come over here, this one I would have entered the max you could have got, which we know you can't get the max.
Right.
But there's, I always tell people to try to go for $500 per trade, and because it would usually get $500 every time, not always, but usually. And then right here, oops, go back in, stay in draw mode. Right there would be the next one that I would enter. And if you just played it to the balance, there's 795. And this one here, I probably would have been playing it to there. And, I
Yep.
probably would have got stopped out wrong through here for, probably $400. I'll take $400 a contract. And then,
And you can go again.
yeah, and then right here would be another one. And this is be where I would be playing it to. Not that I would take it profit there, but that's what I would be looking for. So a lot of people, when they look at trading, the biggest problem with people in getting in a trade is they don't know how or where to get in. The angler tells you, and the angler is based on moving averages and angles and everything else, and that's why it's called angular. But when it gets in, you can usually take the trade in confidence, knowing as long as you're following a trend. And as soon as it comes down and pulls back, like I said, I would probably have entered the short right here. I would have been stopped out. I've been a losing trade. And then I know that the long will be good. So, and that's kind of
One,
what
one,
what you're doing, I think.
yeah, one of the things that I'm looking at, I mean, again, in this situation, I wouldn't have done anything because I would have been gone. I would have
That's
been
true.
finished.
Yeah.
Um, and that's one of the things I struggle with is looking at it and saying, hey, you know what? Your goal is $10,000, but there's trades here that you could probably make $30,000 or $40,000 a day if you chose to. But I could also give it back, and the minute I give back, I ruin my entire day.
Yeah.
So I don't want to do that. I'd rather just consistently compound. But one of the things on Angular, which I really, really like, there's so many different tools here, is I love the signals post. So we just saw this big down move, and look at all that black space.
Right.
All right. And it came down, and there's all this chop here, and that's just
Hmm.
nothing but chop. And now it went back up and gave me a new high. Um, and I've got some black space here. And let's look at the histograms. The histograms never went red.
No.
So I've got a buy signal either here or here. Wouldn't have been stopped out on either one of them.
No.
Um, and my histograms are solid green. So I would have been either stopped out or whatever, or I may have stayed in and added right here, knowing that we never even went red.
Right.
And look at how green those histograms are. So you can find sometimes where the histograms will show you the divergence as moves continue to move higher and whatnot. Um, but again, like I said, I would have been long gone here. I mean, I probably would have cashed out and maybe left one or two on. But in this move, if you look at this particular move, and if my stops are up here, I may have just gotten stopped out
Right.
right in this area.
Because you
Um,
close below the mover.
yes, because I got to close below the mover, and I may have just gotten stopped out. Other than that, um, the funny thing though is I think that where most traders haven't figured out their own what their personal psychology is about money and what makes sense and what doesn't make sense, and everybody's trying to maximize and get the most they can out of every single move, and that just doesn't work. You got to figure out, what your relationship is to money, and you got to figure out what your relationship is to your confidence in being able to take these trades. These trades are very, very logical, especially when they're set up on different time frames. I mean, you could look at other time frames and see on the longer time frames that this price was just going to move and it was just going to keep going higher. And that trade around 1023, that was a banging trade, knowing that these two trades, worst case scenario, were going to go, once they closed above this balance, worst case scenario, they were going to go here.
Yeah.
So that's 30 handles. That's pretty close to 25 or 30 handles. I'll take that on 5 or 10 contracts.
Yeah.
But it kept moving.
But we're actually going to right here probably.
Yep. Yeah, we're going to go that high. And if you look at that price level, I'm looking at another chart in another window. We're probably going up to the 157 area, at least.
Yeah.
And then even higher. So, but all of those trades on Angular would have given you day done. And my day done's a little different because I want to make $10,000 a day, and some days I do, and some days I don't.
Right. Yeah, some days you come in and make around $5,000 or so, but
Yeah.
the days you're making $5,000 are days that most people lose money because they don't know the entries. Yeah, it's a
The
chop
key
day.
or it's just you go into a week and so I think I've made $25,000 this week. You go into a week at $25,000. I would be devastated if I gave up $5,000 or $10,000 going into the weekend.
Yeah, I know.
Now, granted,
Every Friday you say you're not going to trade, but every Friday you trade. There's not been a
yeah, I'll trade.
Friday. There's not been a Friday you haven't traded since you've been in here. I don't think. But you always say
Yeah,
I'm not going to trade.
yeah, I traded today. I mean, I did trade today. I made $800 or whatever it may be with one contract, and that was fine. Done. And now I'll go on and do a Brad and take my wife to lunch.
Yeah, I like to go to lunch. I didn't even
Uh,
trade today. I had other things going. I didn't feel real good. That's why you hear me cough every now and then. But
but I,
I've been a little
but that's
under
a
the
good
weather.
point. I think that's a good point, though, Brad. You don't need to trade every day.
No.
There's nobody saying you have to go sit at your computer and watch this damn thing all day long. You're gonna drive yourself crazy.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Find that find that one trade that makes sense for you. There you have. And I have a pretty. I don't have the world's greatest batting average. I think my batting average is about 65%.
It's
But
still pretty good
the
though.
ones, yeah, the ones that I win on, I'm getting.
Your
So
stellar
let's say
wins.
I'm getting a 5R return. So let's say
Yeah,
I'm going to risk $2,000, but I'm going to make 10. Okay, I'll do that
yeah.
all day long. I probably just jinxed myself, but that's a different story altogether. But
Do, do you remember the trade that you took today? Where it was? Was
um,
it the green or the
I
red?
the trade I took today was the first move I took
Was it before open or after?
it was after the open,
Okay.
and I believe it was
Was it a long?
this trade here. It was a long,
Yeah,
and it was just a real simple scalp, and I made I don't know, I made 20 handles.
yeah. That's good.
And
$1,000 a
I knew,
contract.
yeah, I knew I was talking to you. I only traded, I traded one contract in one account, one contract in another account using one of those replicators just to check it out.
Yeah,
So I made, my $800, whatever it may be, and I knew I was talking to you, so I figured, all right, I'm going to shoot for what I think is a logical target, which I believe was that previous high, and I got my 20 handles, and that was done.
so you were looking on this one here, and you were looking for what? This?
I was looking for this previous high right there. Is what I was
Gotcha.
looking for, and I traded this one right here, and I know I bought it lower. I bought it in between the mover. I didn't just go ahead and hit the
Right.
hit the buy market. I don't trade buy market ever. Um, I'll if I'm trading manually and if I don't already have a target established, and I usually 90% of the time have a target out there that I'm happy for. And if it goes through it, it goes through it. There's no reason to be greedy.
Right.
Um, what I'll do is in that instance, I'll place either an order or I'll hit, buy the bid. And if I'm going to get out, I'll hit sell the ask if I'm trading manually.
Right.
Um, and because when price goes back up and goes through you, you're going to get a better fill.
Right. Yeah.
So, but in this instance, I knew I had a call with you, so I figured, all right, if I make 20 handles, I'll take that.
Yeah.
That
20
pays
is
for
20 is good
my
money.
Angular for August.
Yeah. 20 is good. Good
Yep.
money. Well, actually, I think I said 1,000 while ago. It's actually 400 a contract.
Yeah, it
So
was 400 a contract, but I traded 2 contracts.
yeah,
One in
see,
one account and one in the other.
you make $800 and you're done. I mean,
Yeah.
$800 a day is good money. Every $1,000 is 250,000 a year.
No, absolutely. And I mean, I texted you or emailed you yesterday, and I fully expected to be able to make 7 figures
Oh yeah,
doing
yeah.
this.
Well,
Fully expect.
10,000 a day is 2.5 million a year.
Yeah, and I won't trade every day, and I
No,
guarantee you I'll take 2 months off.
yeah, and you're not.
So
Some days you're only making 5,000 to $6,000.
5,000,
Yeah,
right? Only, or 3,000 or whatever. Some days it's just how you feel, or if the market's real choppy, there's no reason to sit here and go crazy. I
nope,
think the most important thing for traders is to identify and set that goal. And maybe your goal isn't achieved every day. That's okay. But go into the end of the day with a green, it, not deeply in the red, because the reds will wipe you out.
yeah,
And you don't need to have a big account. So I mean, I trade 2 accounts. I have a large account, and then I have a small account with less than $10,000 on it. And I think that account's up almost 30% this week.
yeah. That's awesome.
So you don't have to get hung up on the fact, oh, I need a bigger account. I need a bigger account. You just have to be cognizant of the setup that makes the most sense for you. I'm watching this price go, and it's making me crazy. Um,
Let's pull it over so we can all see.
yeah. Um, but I think the key is figure out what you want to do from a mental perspective, and don't make it a dollar amount, and don't say, listen, I want to make X number of dollars. What you want to do is, I want to follow my rules every day. I
There's
want to
a
follow
hundred
my
percent,
process,
100%.
and the money will come. So, what's changed my trading has really been, hey, I'm not going to add to positions unless I'm already green in a position. I'm not going to add to a losing positions. Who was it? It was Paul Tudor Jones said, losers average losers. That's the truest thing ever said in the history of
Hmm.
the English language. Um, but then you have to look at the fact and say, all right, what's your stop going to be? So, and the beauty of futures is you can risk. I mean, you could risk $200 on a single contract and make 1,000.
Oh yeah,
That's a 5R return,
yeah,
and that's a big deal. And as you said, $1,000 a day, that's $240,000 a year.
yeah.
You're up there. Plus, let's not forget, you get preferential tax treatment with futures.
Hmm. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think when you look at the just the simple setup, and my reversal indicator is not on the chart. That is also a very, very valuable tool for me,
I'm
because it
shocked that you
tells me,
deleted that.
you know what, I went through today and cleaned up a bunch of stuff, and I know I hit the wrong damn button, and I knew it was going to happen. Um, I'll put it right back in.
Yeah,
But
because you used that. That was the first thing you bought, I think.
yeah, that was absolutely the first thing I bought, and that just is my label that says, hey, by the way, you got a reversal here. Take it.
Yeah,
I can't add it now because it'll shut the system down.
right.
But and I use that, for me, it's all more about visual. So if I look at this right now, you've got a decent trend. I would not be entering long positions right here. I would wait, or actually I would have been long done on both of those.
Yeah,
Um, but look at that histogram and look at all the things that histogram's telling you. You know,
yeah. The histogram is really good. And yeah,
yep.
like you said, when you start seeing divergence coming down, that's a good indication that you need to back off. You also have, and I don't talk about this a lot, but since you brought it up, you can see the trends coming down.
Mm-hmm.
And when you see that, that's a good indication that our momentum is actually slowing down. And this is not a momentum indicator, but it works similar to it in ways. And this right here would tell me that we don't have the angle that we need to stay in.
Right. Yeah. So
And
price just made an equal high, and your histogram's, slowing down. So that's telling you to do one of two things: don't enter, or really manage your stop. Tighten your stops up if you're already in a position.
this one right
Uh,
here, right there would be your entry. And honestly, I think that probably
I would have
about right
I would have
there
been out
you'd
there.
be out.
Yep. Yep.
And
that was a 50 handle move.
yeah,
60 handle move.
yeah,
Um, you know, and what this indicator did for me more than anything was allowed me to hold, because I would scalp, you know, and on a move where I could make $10,000, I would make, if
two or
I was
three.
lucky, I'd get, yeah, I'd probably make 2,000 on the runners, um, and maybe 1,500 on my scalps. So I'd
Mm-hmm.
have $3,500 in a move that I should have been day done with. And Angular has given me the confidence, and it took me a while. If you go back and, you know, I like to post my profits in the Discord, and the reason I like to post them is because it's a record for me, and it says, okay, you just put it in there. You don't want to give that back, so hit the button and turn this sucker off.
Right.
Um,
That's where
and so
most people
that's,
don't do it. They get greedy.
yeah, and I don't like to, you know, I don't like to go back and trade a sim either, because, you know, if I look at my silly sim account, my sim account's $3 million in my sim right now, and you start with 100,000. And the reason it's $3 million is because I'll go in and I'll trade 100 contracts or 200 contracts or whatever it may be. Um, and that's just ingraining really, really bad habits. This is not a video game.
Right.
This is a business. And it feels like a video game, but if you treat it like a video game, you're going to end up living in your mother's basement.
Oh yeah. Now with me, I will usually start off around anywhere from 1 to 4 contracts just to kind
Yep.
of get um, um, a feeling of the market, and then excuse me. Then at that time, once I do that, I will sometimes go ahead and start trading in 10 lots. So I'll put my ATM for 10, and I'll just add in until I get to wherever I feel comfortable. So like on this one right here, I might go in 10 lots right here, and when it goes through this little chop and breaks out, I'll go 10 more here, and then I'll pick that up. So that's how I personally trade. And that might be someone just trade one here and then another one there. I mean, you don't have to do 10. You can do whatever you want, whatever you feel comfortable with. And one thing that you said, and I'm actually building an indicator for this, but uh, if we enter here and then when this comes up and touches the mover, it will put a signal here to go ahead and get in. And
Yep.
I'll share that with you once I get it done. And since you trade that way, this indicator will actually help you out. So
And just for edification, so people can see it, and because 40 range in the beginning is pretty fast, but I think it's Ranger that likes the 80 range chart. I'll tell you what, that thing's awesome, and
yeah,
it gave two 50 handle moves today. Um, and you know, right off the bat, you had two single trades, and each of them were 50 handles.
yeah,
So those are, you know, depending on your time frame, and um, I don't like to jump around time frames, trade multiple time frames. I usually trade the 1 minute, or I'll trade the 40 range. And I just started trading the 40 range.
yeah. I
Um,
really like the 40 range on NQ.
so, yep.
I like the
Now
on
it
the
look,
ES. I like a 10 range, and YM I like a 15 range.
yeah, and I think what people have to look at is they have to also understand, where has price, not only where has it come from, where is it going. So we just had a huge move, you know, 150 handles in a very, very short period of time.
Oh yeah,
It's not going to go up. It's not going to keep going at that level. It's got to stop, and it's got to breathe.
yeah. It'll
Um,
usually pull back to the
yep.
balance and then go if it does.
And that's where you get your better entries, rather
Yeah.
than chasing, you know, sometimes on trend days, um, you can just buy it off that mover. But I would highly recommend that people just get to day done, establish that day done as quickly as they possibly can, and just be done with it, and not sit here and drive yourself crazy.
So
Whether it be in,
when do you try to start trading?
I normally would wait 15 minutes into the day, but now that I'm using Angular, I literally will trade the first or second signal on Angular on the 40 range chart. And I bet you in 15 minutes on average, I'm usually done.
So
So
you're still waiting until the open though.
I'll wait till the open. I won't trade. I will occasionally trade between 8 and 9 a.m. Very occasionally. I
Hmm.
have found that for whatever reason, my patience isn't as good there in that space as I'd like it to be. Um,
Yeah, the volume's slower
versus
then.
Yeah, volume's lower, so you got to use a different setting and all other good stuff. Versus volume at the open, you're going to get a 50 handle move in either direction.
Yeah.
And you might get stopped out once or twice. Um, but I think the thing to do is what I have found is if your signal is good, you have to be dedicated to that signal.
Yeah.
And if you get stopped out and then you get another long, what people are going to do mentally, they say to themselves, well, I don't want to take that trade because I just got stopped out. Well, I guarantee you the one that you don't take is the one that works out.
Yeah.
So, you know, you might trade a breakout level 3 times, and it's always the third time that it blows through, and that's the third trade that you're not going to take.
Right.
And you would have more than made up for the stops that you got hit on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
You
I
have
mean,
to be committed.
yeah, and these are really good price action signals. Here comes price down.
Yeah.
Just got to short. I wouldn't take it, but because the trend is so strong. But
Right.
if you're a scalper, you could certainly do it.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people that haven't. You have to think about what happens, and you know this. You have to think about the other people that are on the other side of these trades. Everybody that was in that was long, now they're looking at their profits going away, and they got to get out. They want to get out. It's Friday.
Yeah.
They want to have a nice weekend.
The institutions, they've been selling off all along through here. They
Yeah,
started
and by the
selling
way,
right here,
it's
and then it
about to
run
be
up.
11 o'clock,
Yeah. So on
and it's
this
about to
one,
be.
this one here, if it plays the way I think, it'll come right down to the
Yep.
balance. And there's,
Yeah, that's
yeah,
another 60 handles.
yeah,
Yeah, and you have to be cognizant of a couple of things. People don't do it, and I'll post them in the Discord. You have to be cognizant of what's happening with the news every day. You got to look at that
hmm
and figure that out. Again, this is a business; it's not a video game.
right,
You've got to be cognizant of the time frames and what happens. So 11, it's 11 a.m., almost 11 a.m. Everybody in the UK is shutting down.
oh yeah,
So that market shuts down 11. You think they're buying more positions? They want to go into a weekend with all the things that are going on in the world?
no,
No,
they're
they're
selling
starting.
off.
They're selling. So, and you have to be cognizant of that. Doesn't mean the market can't go up and run. But I think that there's so many different parts of the strategies that you're following, and basically everything that you need to learn is price action based.
Yes,
Just be worried about price action and don't let your profit get away from you. Move your stops. The most valuable thing I learned from you was grabbing that stop and floating it all the way up.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
You got to move your
you know,
stop and protect the
yep,
profit that you have, because if not,
absolutely.
it'll disappear.
Well, it'll disappear, and you're gonna be angry, and you're gonna
Oh yeah.
revenge trade.
I mean, right here's a perfect example. If you go in right here, go in long, and when this goes up and you start getting these double tops right across the SPY money, I mean, worst case scenario, your stop would be right here.
Yeah, yep. And you get out, and you got a nice profit. But guess what?
Yeah,
You just got an opportunity to get in again if you want to.
yeah,
And
right here it said
I
to
would,
get back in.
yeah, I would get in there if I just had a winning trade. I might get in with a smaller amount to protect my profit if that was my only profit of the day. So if I'm trading 10 contracts, I'll trade 5.
Yeah,
Or if I'm trading 5 contracts, I'll trade 2. Because the worst thing you want to do is you're up $2,000 and all of a sudden you're down 1. It's like now you just ruined your weekend. Now it's this is such a psychological game.
yeah. Now right
You got
here,
to be
the way you trade is you probably would have been in off of this wick right here, and then you would have had when this went up, then you would have had another 5 there. Not that you've
yep.
been
I would
trading
have had it.
because you already know you wouldn't, but your signals would be, the first 5 and then the second
Yep.
5, and that's what you'd be trading right now.
Yeah, and I would have added and if I wouldn't be because I'd be done.
Right.
My stop would literally right now be at the top of that red mover. I'd be moving my stop there.
It'd be coming right down through here.
Yep. Yep.
So worst case scenario, your stop would be here. I candle chase. I don't really bring it with the
Right.
mover, but it's kind of the same thing.
It's really close.
Yeah, but
Really
right
close.
now my stop would be right there. Is where it would be.
Yeah, and I don't know what the average price would have been, but it's would be fairly decent. If I see that candle flush really quickly, I'll probably take some off.
So let's just say there to there. Yeah,
That was
there's 20
that's $400.
handles. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
There's nothing wrong with
your next entry would have been there, and to right there. Of course, we know we wouldn't have got that, but
No,
so you'd be, $800. It would have been 2,000 and it'd been $4,000 move right there
right.
if you would have got off the bottom, which we know that we couldn't have got there. But
No,
you would still be in the trade right now because your stop
I'd
is
still,
on your
I'd be
mover.
sitting in. Yep, I'd still be
And
sitting in it, and my stop is probably break even with all
yeah,
those, or small, but that's okay. What I'm looking for is I will usually take a piece of my trade off if I've got a 3R return.
right.
Um, and it's those trades that stack up. So if I'm going to risk $1,000 and I'm up $3,000, I'll usually take half of that trade off.
Yeah,
Um, that will give me at least a 1.5R return if I stop at break even. And that's the way you have to think about it. You got to do the math and just say, okay, from a risk perspective, I just got a 1.5 times return on my risk. That's pretty damn good.
yeah. So your biggest thing is risk management now, where
Yes.
before you even come to us, risk management you just didn't have. Now you
You know
do.
what? I had it in the back of my head, but I wasn't applying it.
Right.
You know, I would enter a trade and I wouldn't have a stop on at all. And I'd end up, in
I
some
forgot about
instances,
that.
yeah, I'd end up in some instances with, because you've seen it many, many times. You're in a trade and all of a sudden it goes against you 50 handles
Yeah. Real quick.
immediately. Yeah, immediately in like maybe 15 seconds. And guess who'd be taking a loser on that one?
You.
So, yep, yep.
But now you
So
always have stops in place.
now my stops are I have hard stops and I use that. I mean, you call them, just put them in your hand. I just put them in my hand and I run down.
Yeah.
So, I probably would have gotten stopped out on this move by now, but that's
Yeah,
okay.
you would have. But you
Yeah.
would have made
Yeah.
money.
Yeah, I would have made some money. But I also wouldn't have taken the trade in the first place because I would have been long gone.
Right. But
And I think that's,
you also wouldn't have taken this trade because you're a counter trend.
yes. Yeah,
Your trend is bullish right now. You need to wait for one move, a pullback, and then hop in it.
absolutely. And if it doesn't make a higher high, then now I'm going to look at going counter trend.
Right.
If it does not make a higher high, now I'll look. But I think the whole issue here, though, Brad, is, and I've said it 15 times during this interview, you don't need to be trading here.
No.
You're done. You're long done. Go enjoy your day. Go ride your bike. Go for a walk.
I like to be
Uh,
done by about 10:30. I
yep,
like to be
and you can
done.
be. Yeah, I mean, I note every day what time I've hit my target. My
It's before
longest
10 every
day
day.
this, yeah, my longest day this week was actually, I think it might have been Tuesday. It was a real choppy day. Um, and I think it wasn't until like maybe 10:30, 11 that I made what I consider to be a really good goal. I think I made $7,000 that day.
Yeah, that's
Um,
still good money.
yeah, I mean that was great. I mean I'm happy with 1,000. Um, but some days if you just follow the system, you're gonna. I mean if you're trading 10 contracts, especially with Angular, you can hit that
Real
50
fast.
return. And it just, I mean, yesterday I think it was at 9:47 done. Um, and that was great. So, and it was only 5 contracts. But and then you can go back and you kick yourself. Well, I should have traded 10, and then what you do is you go back and trade 10 on the next one. Now you've got a loser and you just lost half your profits.
Yeah,
So you can't do that. You got to control your psyche.
right. So let me ask you this: in the future of your trading and such, are is this kind of the strategy you plan on staying to or sticking to, or do you have something else that maybe you're thinking about that might help you, or
I don't. The only thing that I would change right now is I would probably change my size a little bit as I get more consistent, more profitable.
hmm.
But when you look at the way these indicators work, it's just price action.
Oh yeah,
That's all it is. You can pull up anything. You can pull up NQ. You can pull up ES. You can, ES with Angular works like a charm too. I don't trade it much, but I need to. You could look at CL. You can look at, hell, you could look at Tesla stock for God's sake. It's all the same.
yeah,
It's all just based on price action. Um, and if you've spent the time to understand what price action is, and it's all just human emotion. Um, that's what I'm trading. I'm trading that price action. I'm trading
Right.
that, and I'm saying, okay, I am more than willing to look at this and take the opportunity to trade that price action, knowing there's somebody else on the other side. And that's the win. But your advantages here is the leverage. And by the way, that's your biggest disadvantage is the leverage.
Yeah.
But I don't expect to change this much. If I change anything, uh, I'll probably just change the size that I trade at some
Gotcha.
stage. But then,
Instead of being
again,
10,000, maybe do 15 or 20 or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah. And when I started to trade larger, I was trading. That's the other thing. When I came to you, I think I was trading larger, but I just decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to trade 3 contracts, and then if I had a profitable week, I'll move it to 4 contracts.
Yeah, I remember
And
that.
now my average contracts is 10. Um, I have an ATM set up in my system now. I haven't used it yet for 12 contracts. But I think that at some stage in the game, and the other thing that I've done is when I am in a trade, that little window that shows up on Ninja, I have that set to dollars. So it's not a tick window or anything. It just
Right.
says, okay, you're in a
Your
trade. This
P&L.
is how much. Yep, this is how much it is. And I don't necessarily watch my total P&L when I'm when I'm in a trade. So I'll watch the P&L of the trade that I'm in, but I don't watch the other P&L, the P&L
Right.
for the day.
So you watch it mainly just to say, hey, that's good.
Yep.
I'm gonna put my stop up here, and let's just maybe call it a day.
Yeah, I mean, you have to know your limits. And I'm not sure I'll be. I think I need to grow into the comfort of trading more contracts. I mean, trading
Takes
20
time.
contracts, but that's something but if you don't have a comfort level trading it, don't push it.
Right.
So it's the same thing with micros. I mean, just because they're micros, it doesn't mean that you're not going to lose just as much money because you can.
Oh yeah. And a lot
So
of people think that you can't make any money with micros, but you go on MNQ, you can make $1,000 on 4 contracts real quick, real quick. Yeah.
oh, absolutely.
Micros is not anything to shake your head at. I mean, it does well.
Yeah, I
So
have a
I
buddy of mine that trades micros, and
yeah
he's only trading 5 micros, but he
yeah
walks away every day with $500,
yeah.
and that's all he needs.
Five hundred
So
dollars is a lot of money.
yep,
Yeah, 6 figures a year.
yeah. I mean, I think that the again, you got to look at it. This is not it's a business. You're not in business to break even, and you're not in business to lose money. And if you're doing either one of those two things, and you have to look at all of your costs, your commissions, the
Right.
cost for your data, the cost for your internet, and all of those things. That's what you have to look at. And you've got to be treated as a business. That's why I don't like sim accounts. I don't like these prop accounts because it's not real money. It's all make believe.
Right.
Um, if you start trading your own money, you're going to treat it like a business, and it's the best business in the world. I mean, how many days a week, Brad, do you either not trade or you're done by 10 o'clock and you go to the beach?
Oh, I'm always done.
Yeah,
I don't even trade open. Usually, I
right.
trade 6 to 9 in the morning.
Yeah, and
That's
then
usually when I trade because if I trade larger lots, it doesn't take much of a move for me to be done.
right.
I mean, my goal is the same as yours, and I can trade. Usually, I tell you what. Usually, if you wait on the 8:30 news, because usually every day at 8:30 it will spike, and if you wait like a couple minutes after the 8:30, you can usually pick up a move, and you can get your day done then. So you may want to look at that, and I don't want to steer you away from what you do because you're doing great. But I know you're up early anyway. But if you look and try to trade that 8:30, you can usually have that volume that you're wanting because it's the start of the pre-market for the futures, and it's also when you get that news event where the volume starts coming in. I mean, it's clockwork.
Yeah,
So
today's 8:30 news was a beast.
yeah,
Um,
I
I
didn't
was,
even trade. I didn't even look at it.
yeah, I mean, literally, probably, I think it was a 100 handle bar, 130 handle bar, on a 15-minute chart. It was a real beast, but I didn't trade it. I didn't need to.
Yeah, but even right
I
here, see, that was actually open though. So if we go back in here and look at that
Yeah, it
one.
was right there. It was an incredible trade, right there.
So at 8:30 was, oh man, it's all the way
Yeah,
over
just
here.
look at all those bars.
So if you'd gotten in short, even back in here, I mean, you could have got your move right there. But usually, I like to wait a couple minutes after the 8:30 for
Yep,
it to settle down. And right here would be what, 8 minutes into it. I mean, you could have made right here, right there
right.
is what, 40 all the way down to right there's 35 points.
Yeah, and once it broke that level, or that previous level went back up, and the trend's obviously down. Once it broke that level around 1210, um, now you're really going to get a very, very significant move down once it broke that level, and then it
Yeah,
moved from 1205 all the way down 40, 50 points. And so I don't like to trade those because they're so quick, and it's harder for me to move those stops as quickly as I'd like to. But everybody has their own different style and approach, and I think that for somebody that is struggling with this, just find that one trade, the one trade that works for you. You only
yeah,
need one trade. I mean, I talk about it all the time. Just find that one trade that works for you, and then compound it. Compound your knowledge, compound your ability to do your job and stick to your rules every day.
good
Um,
advice.
yeah, it's not like anybody. It's like a regular job. If you went to work every day and you didn't do your job, you didn't do it right, guess what happens? You get fired.
Oh yeah,
Um, and you got to think of trading the same way. What are your rules? Do your job, and you're going to do fine. I mean, it's hard for you not to do fine. It's a lot of work, but the biggest problem with trading, and I've gone through it, is self-discipline. If you don't have the discipline to do it, then do yourself a favor. Go get a job somewhere else because you're going to lose every nickel.
One of the questions I was getting ready to ask you, and that's how I end the interviews, was what would you recommend to someone? But you already did it, and that's it exactly.
Yeah, just go slow. I've been doing this for a long time, um, and am now really for the first time in a very long time seeing consistent profits,
Yeah,
like day-to-day consistent profits that compound.
you hit your ten
Um,
thousand dollar goal almost every single day. Some days is more.
some days it's more. I think I can do 15 or 20 or whatever it may be, but some days it's more. But that's when price just takes off and it goes and it runs. I think it's going to be better, Brad, because I'm not scalping as much, so I'm
Right.
not trading as much. So when I look at, so every night I sit down and I look at my fills and I look at my P&L every single night. And what's happened in the last couple of weeks is my trade blotter is a third of the size as it used to be.
That's great.
You know,
Less
because when you're
commission.
scalping, yeah, and less commissions. When you're scalping, it's because I normally would trade for 5, 10 handles and then move to BE immediately on the first five. I'm not doing that much anymore. I'm waiting for the right setup and taking that one trade, um, and getting bigger moves. So now I'm paying 40, I think $40 in commissions, whatever it may be, on 5 contracts. Um, but I'm making $5,000.
Right.
So
and
uh, I think the biggest issue and the biggest advice I have for anybody is do the work, set your rules, break a rule, turn your computer off.
yep,
Don't revenge trade because you're going to do it. I've done it a million times.
all of
Um,
us have.
I, I love Young Fab's rule: 2 trades, walk 2 losers, or even 2 trades and walk away. I did it the other day, and it was on. I think it was Tuesday when it was a choppy day. I was in 2 trades, and they were both losers. And I looked at myself, and I just said, "Hey, you know what? Walk away." So I walked away for a little while, and then went back in, and then ended up hitting a pretty good day.
Yeah, her rules, she won't take more than 3 trades on one trend. So on this one, she would take 1, 2, 3. She would
Yep.
not have taken, well, she would have taken this one because it was a good pullback. But if this would have come down a little bit and then popped green here, she would not have done.
But she stuck with the trend and had a great day.
Yeah, she does
So
really well. She
yeah,
does. She hits her goals every day and does real well. She's a good trader. So
Mark.
and it's all about her rules. She's got her
Yeah.
rules and that's what she does. But look how we just
Yeah.
hit that TP1. That's the reason
Yep.
I pulled it over.
we just hit TP1 and they're buying it up.
Yeah. But
So
right here is where you're going to get some possible pullback on it. It may pull back down to here even.
yep.
But see, our next zone, well, you don't even have a zone there. I guess it's your data series where you've got your setup. But right here would be the next level, but it's going to have to, pull back a little bit right in here. If you look at that, you have a, I don't know why it's not moving. Just locked up on me.
That's because
Um,
I'm messing with it. I'm messing.
okay,
Go ahead and do it yourself because I'm messing with it. That's why.
gotcha. Right here is one level or leg.
Yep.
So if you go from right here to right there, then if you grab this one, we're probably looking to go about right here based off of your
Right.
legs. And it may not go there, but that's probably where it's going to go. Then it'll pull back to TV1.
Yeah, and we just broke the day high not too long ago. So
Yeah,
it's going to keep moving up. I don't have a chart up, but
right,
it'll keep moving up and taking out those stops. Anybody that's short from that previous gap down, I think on the 28th was, anybody was short that day when you had that big down day. People are now covering. So, and that's a big
right.
part of moving this thing too, is be aware of where price can go.
Yeah, that's all on the order flow, what you're
Yep.
talking about.
Yeah. Now
Really,
you've got the histogram in your angular is making new highs.
right.
So, you know, but it looks like another good trend day.
Yeah.
So,
Well, the Angler definitely does a good job. If you decide to lease that, the people are watching this. We have videos that show how to do it. We supply settings that work really well and so forth. Watching just this interview is, I think is a big help to people. So, watching this and then with the tutorials we also have an Angler chat in our Discord. We just started it up, starting to get more involved with it. And in the future, it won't be every day or anything, but in the future, I plan on doing some live trading that's with the Angular leases only. So what I would do is kind of like how we're doing right now. I set up a broadcast. You go in, you're able to watch and see what's going on, and I talk you through it. Talk about this is right here would be good loans to get into. This right here is your first signal for your short. Maybe you don't get in that one, but your second one is definitely a good one to get in because we made lower highs here. So I kind of walk you through that, and that allows you. So right here would not be the first entry on the short, but this one right here would be because it pulled back and it showed short again. So, and those are the things that I go over and try to help people with. Um, I want everybody to make money, and as long as they're making money, then they're going to stay in, with the spy mining products and stuff. I'm always innovating new products, trying to help make things better. Angular is by far my best indicator that I have on the market right now, but that's not to say that it can't be improved because I think anything can be improved. So, but Trip, I really appreciate the interview. I know a lot of people are going to really enjoy this because they've been wanting to know how you do it. And you are definitely a mentor that people could follow on this right here because you've definitely been through it. You've been trading since the 90s, when it was rotary phones calling in to make that phone call. I mean, it wasn't even push button. I'd say if they came out with push button, well, I guess in the late 80s that's when the push button started coming out, but most people still had rotary phones. So
yeah, there wasn't a quick line dial. That's for damn sure.
no, and once your finger slipped out of that little knob on the rotary, it make you so mad because it usually be the last digit that you're calling. And
Yeah, and just remember, you're old enough to remember what the modems were like back then.
oh
So
yeah, it was
there was none of that.
no, 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 no. The
Yeah,
modems didn't really come out until like probably 94, 95. That's when AOL was big, and
yeah,
if you hit 56 baud, you wouldn't ever hang up because you didn't want to lose that connection. So-
yep. Yeah, I had one of the first compact laptops, and then I turned it into an anchor for my boat. Uh, damn thing must have weighed 25 pounds.
That's
So,
crazy. But Trip, I really appreciate it. Anything you want to say before we leave?
No, I just think, greatest business, great opportunity, but you got to treat it like a business. And there are a lot of people in this Discord and Brad himself that are more than willing to help. And I think that's just a huge advantage as well.
Yeah.
Uh, just just don't reach out during trading hours. That doesn't do anybody any good.
No, it doesn't. Usually I don't answer during that time. If I'm trading, I just stay silent. Well, Trip, I appreciate it, and I'm gonna end this interview now. And if you have any questions at all, he's in our Discord as well. I don't want you bombarding him with DMs and all that, but you can always reach out in the lobby and stuff like that. And if he's not there, I am, or some other people, we can usually help you out. So I appreciate it, Trip. Have a good day.
Thanks, sir.